All right, so the first exercise we're going to go over is the overhead squat. Now, the overhead squat's a great exercise to basically see overall where you are balanced and unbalanced, where you're tight and where you could use some improvement. We're going to be looking at your ankles, we're going to be looking at your knees, your hips, your core, and even your shoulders. So a couple of things that you're going to need. Now, what I have here is a dowel, right? This comes with the actual functional movement system kit. If you don't have that, completely cool. What you're going to need then is a broomstick, okay? If you have some tubing or a band, you can also use that. The second thing that you're going to need is maybe a 2x4. Now, if you don't have a 2x4, it's totally cool. You can grab a pair of weights, like a 2.5 or a 5. You can even take off your shoes and put your heels on them, because that's what we're looking for, right, is the heel elevation. And that's all you're going to need for this first bit. So what we're going to have Dustin do is perform a couple of different movements. We're going to go over what we're looking for, and then we're also going to show you what you want to be looking for if you feel different spots of tightness. All right, so let's get this thing started. Now, what we want to do first is you don't need this 2x4, you don't need weights. All you're going to need is this broomstick, right? Now, you want to get your feet about shoulder width apart, comfortable where you're normally going to squat. From here, you want to extend your hands all the way till that bar is about hip distance, right? About hip height. Okay. From here, what we're going to do is bring those arms right overhead. Now you can see as Dustin's doing, he's straightening out his arms and he's like pressing that bar into the ceiling. With a strong stomach, he's taking a deep breath, and then he's going to inhale, right? Lower his body to the ground as low as his body lets him. Right in this position, he's going to hold. He's going to exhale, come up, and we're going to have him perform it 3 times. Now, what you see Dustin doing is a perfect overhead squat. He has great ankle mobility as his knees track over his toes. His hips are getting lower than his knees. His core is staying erect, right? His upper body's staying erect. His hands are staying over his shoulders, which are staying behind his knees. It's absolutely perfect. Now, if you are unable to do that, completely cool, right? Most of the population can't do what he's doing. He's extremely, extremely mobile. So if your overhead squat tends to look a little bit more like what we're about to show you, I'm going to show you a couple different ways to fix it, okay? So if you're doing an overhead squat, you have it overhead and your torso is bending more forward than anything, your ankles feel stuck and your hips are shooting back, then that means that you have tight ankles. It might mean you have tight hips, a weak core, and then you also see how when Dustin's moving his forward, his shoulders or his hands are going above his head. It's because it might mean you have tight shoulders, okay? So what we're going to do to fix that, right, is we're going to ask Dustin to go ahead and put his heels on this 2x4, on the functional movement screen. And if you don't have that, you can use weights or you can just elevate your heels. From here, he's going to do the exact same thing, measuring out that dowel, placing it right overhead, taking a nice deep breath, and then inhaling as he comes down, right? Same movement, keeping that core strong, exhaling as he comes up. Now, what you might notice is that your squat form actually gets better. And that's because we're taking that ankle mobility and we're deleting it from the equation. So if this feels good to you, perfect. Now, if you're noticing a couple of tight areas, make sure you write those down and you let me know a little bit later. And the last thing that we're going to end up doing is we're going to take that dowel and we're going to just set it to the side, and we're going to have you perform a normal body weight squat with your heels elevated. Okay? So from here, all we're looking for is for your hands to stay right out in front, and I want to see just as low as you can go. If you can't get that deep, that's great. If you're doing just a quarter squat, that's fine. I want you to go through a range of motion that's comfortable, okay? Now, once you really determine where that's at, perfect, write it down, and then send me that so we know what we really can work on. Make sure you watch this a couple times, really be mindful of how it feels, and have a great day.